Hi everyone, welcome to our first AGM of the National CLT Network and the first AGM of the network as an independent charity. I'm Catherine Harrington, Director of the National CLT Network.
And I'm David Graham, I'm the Chair of the National Community Land Trust Network, the current Chair.
Hello to everyone who is tuning in via YouTube. We're doing it slightly differently this time. Normally we hold our AGM at the same time as holding our national conference because everyone's already together at that point. However, we had to hold our AGM within 18 months of incorporating as a charity. So we couldn't do that this time. So we're trying something new. We're trying a bit of technology to communicate with you all. Please let us know how you find it. We want your feedback and we can try something new next time. If you do have any questions, because we want it to be interactive, then please do email Lizzie Daish at lizzie@communitylandtrusts.org.uk. And then when we get to agenda item 6, which will be in probably about half an hour, we'll take all your questions. So we have a little bit of two-way communication.
Again, welcome to our first AGM of the Charitable Incorporated Organisation. I thought I'd start a little bit about myself and how I became involved, because it's an indicator of the CLT movement and how it's moved forward. I had never heard of CLTs until 2009, when they first cropped up, when our village was actually looking at doing some housing. The need for affordable housing came up in a community survey, and we got introduced to community land trusts by one of our umbrella organisations, Annie Lloyd from Cumbria. I'm now a practitioner. I've now developed a scheme, and we have a scheme in Cumbria. Our board and our team delivered a scheme in Cumbria, and from there I got involved with the National Community Land Trust Network, and I've been chair of that for the last almost 3 years.
Yes.
Yeah, I am a very passionate advocate of CLTs, and I can safely say that in 34 years of working, I've never got as much satisfaction out of anything that I have out of CLTs. I get a huge amount of satisfaction out of working with people like yourselves, listening into this, who are passionate about delivering things for the community. So that's me. Before I go into the sort of formal part and the trustees' report, which will cover the last 18 months, I thought I'd mention the current climate, and in thinking about today, I was reflecting on where we've been and where we've come from. And I started by, unfortunately, thinking of all the negatives, as sometimes you do, and all the sort of words that have come up over the last 18 months. Challenging, change, uncertainty, bureaucracy, housing shortage, honesty, trust, those are different ones, but funding, grants, security, affordability comes up an awful lot, ownership, and the government. I sort of saw those, or thought of those as negatives. I've left the government till last, and I'll actually come back to them. But in actually reviewing it, I also look back to 2012, when a number of the board of the Community Land Trust Network went across to America, to the International CLT conference in Vermont, USA. And I looked at what we'd actually covered at that conference. And funnily enough, a lot of the issues we covered are still issues that are there today. The right to buy, housing prices, forthcoming welfare reform, reduced grant aid, affordability, government cutbacks and recession, and lending failure by banks. Those were all key issues we went to an international CLT conference with as the sort of UK experience of where we were. There were some of the headlines. So, since 2012, 3 years, has the climate changed? Yes, it has, but there are a lot of the topics in that list that are still there and still high on the agenda. We've got a different government, but we've got a government that still hasn't found a real solution to the increasing housing shortage. And more importantly, in my opinion, lack an understanding of what something called affordable is. They have a lack of understanding of affordable homes and the need for affordable homes. Affordable used to be, or it has been in the past, 80% of some arbitrary market rental. It's never that. Affordable homes are actually a rent that's linked to household income. That makes it truly affordable. And yet, at the end of the day, having paid a rent, you've actually got to be able to live as well. So it's actually a rent that's linked to household income and allows individuals and families to have a decent standard of life after paying that rent. That's authentic affordability. The driver now is starter homes. That's one of the government's themes at the moment, and home ownership. But it's got all the same issues. Authentic affordability. There doesn't appear to have been any learning in the last 3 years. This government seems to be incapable of grasping the fact that we actually need affordable homes, and we need homes that people can actually afford. We've then got right to buy, rent reductions, universal credit, and reneging on rent agreements. How do all those provide any confidence for a sector that is already struggling with funding cuts? How does that provide confidence for the lenders, for the financial institutions? So against that background, externally, yes, there are pressures. The pressures have changed, and without a doubt, they're going to continue. But I would actually ask, are they negatives? Because I truly believe they are not negatives. We live in a world of uncertainty. We deal with negativity, negatives, change, and we deal with it well. There have been challenges, but in actual fact, there are also opportunities, and they're drivers for change. So I really believe that those challenges, those negatives over the last few years have led to the groundswell of community groups establishing CLTs and deciding to self-deliver. I am positive that our CLT family will grow as ever more radical, and I'm going to be quite controversial, ill thought out ideas come from the government. I can't see anything other than community-led housing actually tackling the issue of affordability. There is nothing that I have seen yet that deals with the issue of affordable homes. You can build as many homes as you want, but if they're not affordable, they don't tackle the issue of the lower paid people that require homes. I know in Cumbria, our CLT, my own one, Livenic Community Trust, our community were of the simple opinion, if we didn't do something for ourselves about affordable housing, no one was going to do it for us. Hence, we set up a community land trust. And I think we will see a growing number of CLTs as the years progress. And we've already seen that. So the negatives actually become drivers for change. They're positives. I don't think there are negatives. They're positives. So let's look at our positives, the National Community Land Trust Network's positives. Our achievements, and are there a lot of them? We have done a lot in the last 18 months. Catherine reminded me of my Christmas message on the web, which I must admit I'd completely forgotten about, with that horrible photograph of my nashers, but there we go. I must admit, at that time I was astounded by the progress and achievements of our small London team, the umbrellas, and our growing CLT network. And that view hasn't changed. It's simply been strengthened over the last 18 months. Looking at some of the statistics, we've now got 175 community land trusts, of which 47 have developed homes. And other assets, because let's not forget CLTs aren't just about homes, they're about other assets as well. There's a national movement of CLTs going on, growing from some 40 CLTs 5 years ago to 175 today. So more people are experiencing firsthand the impact of the housing crisis and are wanting to actually do something about it, and CLTs are an answer. We've delivered our family within the National Community Land Trust Network has delivered 527 homes, of which 268 are rental and 200 are low-cost home ownership. In 2014-15, over 250 homes have been completed. That includes Keswick, Witherslack, I should know that, it's in Cumbria, sorry about that. Witherslack in Cumbria, in the village of Beer in East Devon, in Bournemouth, in Pinchbeck and Wilsford in Lincolnshire, as well as by 12 partnership CLTs supported by Wessex CLT. And they've collectively delivered 150 homes across Somerset, Devon and Dorset. And I think there's been some slides up on the screen that you've probably seen of some of those community groups, community land trusts, and also at the moment a slide showing our growth and our anticipated growth by 2020. We've seen some landmark successes within the urban CLT movement. East London CLT, innovative project, is on site and won 2 awards, the National Housing Awards. The refurbishment of 10 homes by Granby 4th Street in Liverpool is well underway and has earned them a nomination for the Turner Prize. And then we've got Middlesbrough CLT's project and Bristol CLT self-build scheme, both on site. Those are just some of the highlights of the CLTs. So, looking at the slide on screen, we're looking at another 2,500 homes in the pipeline to be delivered by 2020. We've got 11 developing CLTs supported through the Urban CLT Fund. 28 grants provided to new CLTs through the new CLT Startup Fund, and 204 grants awarded to date. CLT grants. We've got 5 umbrellas working towards financial sustainability. We've got 70 members of the network, and if anyone's watching this that isn't a member, they need to become a member of the network. We need your support. We've significantly increased awareness and support for the CLTs amongst MPs. A lot of work has gone into that over the last 12, 18 months. And that's with ministers, policymakers, think tanks, and key partner organisations. We've got a new affiliation package for members, which includes directors' insurance. And our remit, we've extended our remit into Wales, so we now cover England and Wales. So that's some of the headline statistics, and those standing on their own actually demonstrate the success of the National CLT Network and its family. So what about some of the detail? I think one of the biggest ones for me, and one of the big achievements for the network, was on the 7th of May 2014. The reason for this first AGM of the Charitable Incorporated Organisation. After 3.5 years of being hosted by the National Housing Federation, we took the leap, and it was a leap, to become a registered Charitable Incorporated Organisation, moving into our own offices at Cowcross Street. So obviously we share with other parties, but our own offices. We had a team of 2 at that time, Catherine and Hannah, and they stepped up to the task in moving the organisation forward smoothly, setting up all the systems and procedures required for a standalone organisation that actually employs staff. In other words, Catherine and Hannah at that time. But we also lost all the back office support that we had with the National Housing Federation. We lost that support, and we lost an element of line management. So Catherine stepped up to the role of leading the network, which she has delivered with enthusiasm and professionalism, and has really made her mark. moving the organisation forward. And that was a big challenge for us. It's very, very different from the organisation that sat in the National Housing Federation. So let's look at our objectives. And I must admit, I'm going to have to read this in a bit more detail because I can't remember it all. I can't do justice to all the work that's actually been undertaken and to our achievements from memory, because there is just so much of it. When you actually sit and try and reflect on what we've achieved over the last 18 months, there are so many things that I tend to forget about, but actually they are big achievements. And that wouldn't be doing it justice, and it's important that our membership is aware of what we've been doing. Our objectives. The National CLT Network helps communities shape their own future by encouraging and supporting communities to set up community land trusts. CLTs are organisations set up and run by volunteers to develop and manage homes as well as other assets. And those are homes and assets that are important to the community, like community enterprises, food growing or workspaces. The CLT's main task is to make sure these homes are genuinely affordable, based on what people actually earn in their area, not just for now, but for every future occupier. So authentic affordability in perpetuity. So our goal is quite a simple one, really, is to see a CLT in every community, to shape their future through permanently affordable land, assets and housing. I'll just say that again, our goal. So it's a one-off simple one. We want to see a CLT for every community to shape their future through permanently affordable land, assets and housing. And that's what we're working towards. We've now got 175. We've got a wee bit to go yet, but we're well on the road. To deliver this, we've actually got 3 core objectives. To campaign for a more supportive policy and funding environment for CLTs. Catherine led for us and launched a 2-year advocacy campaign to create a more favourable national and local policy and funding environment for CLTs. And more importantly, to actually ensure that there is seed-corn funding for CLTs and community-led housing, more capital investment in the sector, more land available at an affordable cost for permanently affordable housing, protection of CLT homes from the right to buy and leasehold enfranchisement, and readily available mortgage products for CLT homeowners. As of the 31st of March, we were 3 months into that campaign and had already carried out a comprehensive survey of members, looking at the barriers and measures that were needed, launched our pre-election manifesto, Our Homes, Our Communities, at the end of February, held a National CLT Action Day, organised in partnership with London citizens, again at the end of February, and this achieved a lot of press coverage in the Mirror, Independent on Sunday, The Eye, RTTV, as well as regional and local press coverage. Still don't know what RTTV is, but it's obviously a TV channel.
1 million viewers internationally.
All right, okay, thank you.
It's Russia. It's called Russia Today.
Oh,
They
right.
have a channel in England.
Okay, there you go. Russia Today. We're moving from England and Wales to Russia. Sorry.
But what was good about that is that on the back of that, we actually had a lot of interest from BBC Breakfast to do a piece, which fell through at the last minute. But I think, you know, it stands us in good stead to get TV coverage in the future, especially of the CLT projects that are now on the ground.
Thank you, Catherine, for clearing that up in my mind. It's one I forgot to ask you. We directly influenced government, the manifesto teams of all the main political parties and the key influencers, including influential MPs think tanks and opinion formers. And that wasn't just the NCLT end doing that, the network doing that, that was our family. Everyone was involved in that process. We supported CLTs to lobby their prospective parliamentary candidates, preparing a lobbying pack and a media pack. 31st of March, we actually had 30 MPs and many more candidates have been contacted by the CLTs. We successfully encouraged partner organisations to promote CLT, the CLT agenda, with their campaigns, including Shelter, Social Enterprise UK, and the Building Societies Association. You get the impression by now there's a lot of work being done in the last 18 months, and it's what I reflected on earlier. When you actually look back and you're close to it, you don't actually remember everything that's been done.
That was only actually in 12 months.
That was in 12
so
months.
There's lots that's been
done. Exactly.
On lobbying.
Yep. We successfully lobbied for the continuation of CCON funding for community-led housing groups from April 2015. Continued to directly liaise with officials on relevant policy matters, including on the registration and regulation with the Homes and Communities Agency and the right to build. Provided evidence to DCLG, Select Committee Inquiry into Community Rights, and to the London Assembly Housing Committee reviewing affordable home ownership. We also participated in the development of an alliance for the community-led housing sector and supported CLT movements internationally, including in Belgium, Italy, and France. CLTs are international. I mentioned earlier the 2015 International Conference in America. There's quite a movement developing in Europe. So that was one of our three core objectives. Our second one was to raise awareness of CLTs. We delivered 5 peer learning events, see it and believe it events. And for anyone that hasn't been to one of those, and anyone that's listening in today that's at a CLT that's just starting up, see it and believe it events are absolutely fantastic way of getting to know other people that are actually delivering CLTs and building a network that can help you. And we delivered those in Streatham and Wilburton, Norton Subhampton and Queen Camel, Glendale Gateway Trust, Transition Homes, and Yulegrave CLT. Those events were collectively attended by over 45 CLTs and partners, including local authority and members, officers and members, so both officers, councillors, district councillors, and we received some really excellent feedback from those. We also commissioned a major redesign of our website and the members areas, and those were both launched in May 2015. And I would hope you would see that as a really good platform for information on CLTs. We commenced work on promoting CLTs to the growing neighbourhood planning movement by holding an expert roundtable on neighbourhood planning and CLTs in November 2014 and developing promotional materials to go with that. We've also helped support CLTs to tell their own story through preparing a media pack as part of the advocacy campaign and promoted the work of CLTs via national and regional press. It's really important for the CLT movement that we take every opportunity to actually promote what we're doing and what we achieve. And that isn't just the network, that's the umbrellas and the CLTs and our members. It's a real opportunity to promote what we can do. And we've represented and promoted CLTs at relevant events and housing and community development events. So that objective was pretty well covered as well. The third one, to support CLTs and provide access to expert support. Well, we launched the CLT Startup Fund in May 2014, and that's a 5-year grant program to help communities set up CLTs. And that helps them access specialist advice on legal structures, business planning, governance, and community engagement. we've been very successful in getting funding from that by Esme Fairburn Foundation, the Tudor Trust, and Nationwide, the Nationwide Foundation. And that fund provides 3 stages of support for CLTs. The fund also includes a Clt Investment Fund, which is a risk capital pot. It's actually managed by CAF Ventures. If you want to know more about those, get in touch with the network and talk to someone from the London office or one of the umbrellas. We also launched the Urban CLT Project in May 2014. So there was an awful lot going on in May 2014. That's a 2-year program of specialist grants, peer-to-peer support and advocacy for CLTs operating in urban areas. We were very conscious that there were lots of rural CLTs out there delivering goods. We actually wanted to look at the urban areas as a one-off activity and try and get some models up and running for the urban areas that could actually demonstrate that it fits all parts of the UK. The urban movement, the urban areas, the growth's been much slower and it needed a bit of a jump start, hence the Urban CLT project. And to date, 11 new and developing urban CLTs from across the country have actually been awarded £10,000 grants to assist in the process of moving them forward. And we've got a second round of those grants coming up in December, when we expect another 9 urban CLTs to be awarded 10,000 each as well, taking it to 20.
Applications closed on Monday. We had 13 or 14 applications. 14. Yeah, 14. Applications
by Monday, so it could be a busy weekend for some people.
No,
oh, it's closed. Sorry.
Yeah.
Tough.
The great thing is we had 14 applications.
Yeah. Well, we had 14 applications. Sorry about that. Last Monday. Oh, well, there we go. We also launched an umbrella CLT fund, and that was to support the established umbrella CLTs. And it's about supporting them to become self-sustainable. The urban sorry, too many urbans and umbrellas. The umbrellas are a really important part of the family, because the umbrellas actually work and support the CLTs at grassroots, at the coalface, as I would call it. And they're an important part in fueling the growth of CLTs. So the funding we actually achieved from Tudor Trust goes towards supporting those 5 umbrellas over the next another 2 years. We're a year into it. We've also got a model rules sponsorship service. It's quite a mouthful. And that's aimed at CLTs incorporating as community benefit society. And it's about using the FCA approved National CLT Network model rules. So it's about setting CLTs up as businesses. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Gosh me, I'm nearly there.
I wasn't expecting you to read it out.
No,
word by word.
I actually think it's really important, and I'm sorry if people feel I'm going on a bit.
No, it's good.
But actually, there's been a phenomenal amount of work done over the last 18 months, and I think it's important that actually our members, people that are listening in, hopefully, actually aware of everything that's been going on. Because we have been busy. Our staff have been busy, the umbrellas have been busy, and the CLTs have been busy. And, you know, there is a huge swell of movement in the network. And I suppose, you know, the last thing, and even in itself, the last point is a lot of work. Providing advice, signposting service, printed and online tools and publications and member briefings. Even in that just one line, there is a huge amount of work that's gone on. In the background and available to members. So, you know, from my perspective, it's important that we don't forget the range and scales of achievements since our charitable incorporated organisation was actually formed. And I hope, you know, from the members' perspective, from people listening in, it gives you not necessarily a summary, but it is a summary, but it gives you confidence that the network is actually delivering and that we're on track. And on that, I'll shut up. No, on that. Really, I do apologise if I've gone through quite a bit of detail, but it really is important that you're aware of everything we've been doing. And what you will get following on from today's AGM is you'll actually get a National CLT I've been working exceptionally hard on, and that will be going out probably tail end of next week.
Yeah, probably. Well, actually, it might go out Monday or Tuesday.
Tail end of next week.
Yeah.
So that's the trustees' report to the trustees. If anyone does have any questions, Catherine mentioned how you get questions into us, and we'd quite like it to be two-way interactive if we can. This is very much the first we've ever done it this way, and I'm a bit of a technological dinosaur, but I'd love any questions if there are any out there, and we'd be happy to answer them towards the end. Over to you, Catherine.
Thank you. I should just say that actually was a summary of activities in the last 12 months from 1st of April to the 31st of March 2015. And that's all set out in our trustees' annual report. So lots has been happening since then.
Huge amount.
I'm just going to do a summary of our annual accounts up to 31st of March 2015. This is also set out in the annual report at the end, and you would have received a copy of them by email. So the headline figures are that we received a total income of 148,000 in 2015. That included grants of 97,125 from the Esme Fairbairn Foundation and the Oak Foundation, and of that, 2,500 was to manage the umbrella fund. We also had 30,851 grant funding that we carried over from the previous year. That's because this is the first year that we were an incorporated charity, so they didn't go into reserves as such. They were held in our account, and now they'll go into reserves. We also received 17,707 in membership fees. In addition to that 148,000 core income, we had a management fee of 41,614 to manage the Startup Fund, the Urban CLT Project, and the Umbrella Fund. But that is not just to cover salary costs, it's also to cover project costs, including the development of materials, running events, websites, etc. And finally, we had 20,000 endowment from the National Housing Federation for when we became independent. That's because when we fundraised actually for continued grant funding for the network, we did that on a basis that we would continue to be hosted by the National Housing Federation, where we'd receive a contribution in kind in the form of accommodation and back office infrastructure. However, then when it was decided that we would become independent from the network, we obviously were going to incur greater costs. So the National Housing Federation very kindly gave us a gift of 20,000, for which we're very grateful. We've now put that into an endowment, which will go into our reserves. So in total, last year we spent 165,847, of which 124,232 was spent on our core work, 26,000, or just over 26,000, was spent on the Urban CLT project, and 14,000 was spent on the Startup Fund. So we have a surplus this year of 26,410 to carry over to 2015-16 for our core work only. We also are deferring some grant income which we disperse to CLTs through the Startup Fund and the Urban CLT project, as well as the Umbrella Fund. And that comes to 102,000 that we're carrying over to the next year. That's partly because the Startup Fund actually started partway through the last financial year. And also we have a number of grants where we've actually committed the money, but they haven't been drawn down yet. So 20,000 of that is for the Urban CLT project costs, which will go towards holding a practitioner event and commissioning external evaluation, as well as actually support the days and the advice days that the applicants receive as part of the shortlisting process. And 77,000 of that will go towards go into the Startup Fund for next year to provide grants to CLTs in the next financial year, so 15-16. So 2014-15 shows a healthy surplus, which is really good news. And actually that's a result of being very prudent in the previous financial year and also doing a lot of fundraising to continue as an organisation. But the outlook for 2015-16, so our current year that we're in right now, and then even more so for 2016-17 is not so rosy. It's going to be a challenge. We've got a deficit of 9,000 for this financial year, and that's despite setting very ambitious targets for our membership and sponsorship. So we're likely to be showing a deficit more in the region of 20,000 this financial year. And then for 2016-17, we're showing a deficit at the moment of 70,000. And I'll talk later about what we're going to do to plug those gaps. Thank you. Sorry, just to say, if there are any questions, as David said, on any of those figures or the accounts which are you've been emailed, then do send them through to Lizzie and see if I can answer them during the AGM, or just send them through afterwards as well, and or give me a call next week. Thanks.
I think considering where we come from, it's the first year of a charitable incorporated organisation with all the setup costs, new offices, new equipment, systems, procedures, etc., etc. I think the financial accounts are an excellent record and show the professionalism and how well they've been managed through the year. So they are excellent. If we can move on to the sort of really formal part of the agenda. On the resolutions, obviously, obviously we've already carried out the voting because we couldn't quite fathom out a way of actually having two-way interactive voting on screen. That'll maybe come next year. There's a challenge for Lizzie. Yes. Anyway, we've voted on all the resolutions in advance of the AGM today, but I do formally need to take us through them. The adoption of the accounts was the first resolution. Burton Sweet are our network's accountants, and they've finalised the accounts, which you've all had copies of. We sent out about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, I think about a week and a half actually ago, the set of accounts, covering the period to the 31st of March 2015. Under our articles, our constitution, the accounts need member approval at the AGM before sending off to the Charity Commission. So the resolution was therefore the National CLT Network accounts for period ending the 31st of March 2015 are approved. We received a total of 11 voting forms from members of the organisation, and they were unanimously approved. So our accounts are approved for the year ending 31st of March 2015. Thank you very much. The second one was the resolution regarding the auditors. Burton Sweet are a firm of accountants, and obviously, as I've already said, they've produced our network accounts. We are required as an organisation to actually formally resolve formal resolution to say that we don't need to audit those accounts, an external audit of those accounts. From a legal perspective, given our turnover, there's no statutory requirement for auditing. And given that we're actually using an external firm of accountants, the view was that auditing wasn't required. So the resolution we put forward to membership was therefore external auditing of the National CLT Network accounts is not required for the financial year ending the 31st of March 2015. Again, there were 11 votes received, and that was unanimously agreed. So that's approved as well. Then we move on to the election of trustees. New trustees to the NCLTN are elected by members, and they're elected at the AGM on a one member, one vote basis, or are appointed by the existing Board of Trustees and serve 3 years. The Constitution provides for a minimum number of 3 trustees to a maximum of 9 trustees, of which no more than 3 can be non-members. At this, our first AGM, all existing trustees of the Board of the charity actually stand down, although they can stand for re-election. But future AGMs, 1/3 of the trustees stand down. What I would flag up, and it's really important that members actually realise this, all the trustees give up their time freely. There's no reimbursement for time, simply reimbursement for expenses. And that, the vast majority is travel. At this point, I would actually like to mention particular thanks. And it's thanks to the existing Board of Trustees that have stood with the organisation from certainly for the last 2 years, actually, through the inception of the charity and through setting the charity up. And in particular, it might be wrong this, but I'm going to mention it, I would like to thank Joe Lavis, who took on the role of Vice Chair in 2014. And that was a really important role for the charitable incorporated organisation because we actually manage staff. So it was important that we created a separation between the chair and the vice chair in any management issues. I'd also like to thank in particular Andy Lloyd and Dave Smith, who both stand down as trustees and are not up for re-election. And I would thank them for all their time, effort and input, which has been really valuable over the last 2 years. So moving on to the election of the trustees. We've got 29 full member CLTs who have the right to participate in voting. And we had 11 voting forms. So in no particular order, I'm going to go through each of the trustees that stood. And you all had the biographies that came out, or the CVs, or I can't remember what we call them. Trustee biographies, get the title right, which came out in advance. So going through each of them, I'll give you the outcomes, the scores on the doors for each of the trustees. Alison Ward, there were 9 yes, 0 against, and 2 withheld. David Graham, there were 10 yes, 0 against, and 1 withheld. Stephen Hill, 11 yes, 0 against, 0 withheld. It's all positive so far. Joe Lavis, 9 yes, 0 against, 2 withheld. Pam Johns, 9 yes, 0 against, 2 withheld. The 2 withheld's a bit of a constant theme that goes through this. Ian Crawley, 9 yes, 0 against, 2 withheld. So all 6 trustees were re-elected. Thank you very much indeed. And obviously look forward to working with those trustees again for another year. In addition, we secured an additional trustee to stand for election. Cathy Bakewell, Baroness Bakewell of Hardington Mandeville MBE, graciously agreed to join our family, obviously subject to election at this AGM, but to join our family as a chair. One of the things I wanted to do as the current chair was actually to stand down, as I thought it was time for a new chair, bringing new strengths, new direction to the NCLTN. Cathy Bakewell is a real passionate advocate of CLTs, so her credentials are impeccable. She's also got a housing background and a background in local and national government. So really good catch for the organisation, and we're really, really grateful to Cathy for actually agreeing to stand. So, in the case of Baroness Bakewell, we unfortunately had 2 members who used the wrong voting form. So in total there were only 9 votes received. We had 7 yes, 0 against, and 2 withheld. So Baroness Bakewell has been elected as a trustee and also as the new chair from the National Community Land Trust Network. And we all look forward to working with Baroness Bakewell, and obviously to spending time with her, helping her get to know the organisation, the umbrellas, and some of the CLTs going forward. So, you know, we'll be looking over the next few weeks to do some work at induction with Cathy, and it's exciting times. You know, we've got someone who actually sits in the House of Lords and has a really good network. So that's the formal part of the resolutions and the election of trustees. And on that, I'd like to hand back to Catherine for the next 12 months, where we're going.
So we're now on agenda item 5, the next 12 months. But before I kind of look ahead, I wanted just to mention that it's at times like writing the annual report that you'll receive when you really do realise what you've achieved. And I think we've got a lot to be proud of as an organisation and as a CLT movement. The 2 major funds, we raised nearly £1 million grant funding to provide to CLTs. The advocacy campaign that's seen actually to date 70 MPs engaged by their local CLT, as well as the attention of ministers and other key organisations, key partners for us. But I think becoming independent was actually a real turning point for us as an organisation. I think since then we've been able to stand on our own 2 feet and speak out assertively and confidently about CLTs, and I think we've really gone from strength to strength since then. So for that, I'm really grateful to the staff team for their hard work and for pulling together when we've had to. Also for the trustees for steering us so well during this time. And but most importantly to David, it has been fantastic working with David as our chair, as he's overseen the achievements of the last 3 years. And I'm really, really particularly grateful for your support when we became independent.
You're going to make me blush.
No, but truly, yeah, I'm going to really miss working with you so closely, but I'm really pleased that you're still going to be on the board, and thank you. And we are really lucky, well, happy that we're going to be going out for lunch after this, which is going to be great. Sorry you can't all join us.
You should have come to the meeting.
And we're going to do a Christmas lunch as well. Thank you. So, yeah, but I'm glad that you're still on the board and you can't get away from us that easily.
No, it's not for the lack of trying. No, far from it. I do really enjoy being involved with it in CLT. And, you know, funnily enough, I've got something down. I may as well do it now. I had it down to the end of the business, actually. I think it was really to thank all those involved in the network, the board, umbrellas, CLTs, funders, and the sector as a whole for supporting me and supporting the network over the last, the time I've been chair. But really, from my perspective, and I did want to save it till the end, but I might as well do it now. I think our thanks need to go to the, our current London team of Catherine, Gemma, and Lizzie, because they constantly, Catherine, look at that. Sorry, Catherine, Gemma, and Lizzie. They constantly amaze me at what they can actually achieve and turn out. Their enthusiasm, work ethic, and passion for the network is just unbelievable. And I struggle to keep pace with them. Now, whether that's an age thing, I don't know, but I struggle to keep pace with everything that they are actually involved in. And today, for me, has just been another reminder of everything that's been done over the last 2 years and just how much we've achieved. And that comes, a lot of that, or the vast majority of it, comes down to our staff team. Sorry.
Thanks, Dave. I love the way you say the London team, like these are the teams.
Well, there are. The London team are part of the bigger family. We have teams all over the country.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Okay, back to the next 12 months. So, just some reflections really. During the time that David's been chair, there have been a lot of changes in the housing world, but I think it's really in the last 3 months that we've witnessed a very different housing landscape emerge, with the right to buy, starter homes, rent reductions, and the spending review in 2 weeks, where we're likely to see a real cut in grant for affordable housing, and particularly for any rented affordable housing. It's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out once the dust settles. But I don't think you need a crystal ball to see that we're witnessing the end of social rent and affordable rent. Potentially the end of shared ownership, with the emphasis on developers delivering affordable housing as starter homes. And then it's all about delivering more, and it's all about getting everyone into home ownership. So a very different landscape, which has obviously presented a lot of challenges to housing associations, but also to community land trusts. And we've been campaigning a lot in the last, how long is it now? 4 or 5 months, particularly around the right to buy and rent reductions. And we're really pleased that the campaign on the right to buy has got us an exemption in the voluntary deal between the government and the National Housing Federation. So what we're doing right now is making sure that the regulations that will set out that discretion or exemption are as strong as possible, and we're looking at whether to still promote an amendment to the Housing and Planning Bill, which is currently going through Parliament, to legislate for that exemption to be in regulations. But despite those challenges, what I wanted to say actually is this new environment could potentially provide a really exciting opportunity for CLTs to actually show what a genuinely affordable home really is. Starter, as David was saying at the beginning, starter homes at 80% of market value isn't affordable by any means, by anyone's standards. CLTs may now become the only affordable game in town. So we've got a real opportunity here to be out there and be saying, right, this is what affordable is, and this is what we can provide as a movement. I think this new environment also means that we can't really rely on government support anymore. We're going to continue to lobby to make sure that there is the right environment for CLTs, but we can't be going with a begging bowl saying, please, can you give us more capital grant funding? We need to stand on our own 2 feet. We'll need to find alternative ways to scale up the sector. So just as the housing landscape's entering into a new phase, so are we as an organisation, and we're going to be doing things quite differently from now on. So what I wanted to really set out is that we've got an ambitious strategy now to scale up the CLT movement and to move the National CLT Network itself into a stronger, viable and social business. We don't want to be reliant on grants anymore, and nor can we actually with the current environment and the fact that we have already been very fortunate to receive core grant income from charitable foundations that fund housing, but there are very few of them, and we can't keep going back to them and saying, please can we have another grant to continue as an organisation. We need to stand on our own 2 feet. So to achieve that, our board actually on the 9th of November signed off a financial strategy that sets out the plan to set up 4 new business initiatives. So this is the first time I've actually...
9th of November?
9th of October? Did I say November?
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry.
It's been a bit of a full-on month. Thank you. So yeah, 9th of October, our board agreed the financial strategy. This is the first time I've actually been, I've told our members what we plan, but we are going to introduce, or firstly fundraise for and introduce 4 new business initiatives that we, each of them will address the kind of key sticking points and barriers that CLTs tend to experience to deliver their homes. So the first one is a social investment capital loan fund that we will develop to provide affordable capital funding for the whole sector. The second one is a land purchase fund that, funded through social investment, we will be able to provide option agreements to CLTs to secure an interest in a site that will in turn help unlock pre-development funding, which is that all important bit of funding to take you up to planning for CLT projects. The third one is a platform for CLTs to raise community shares and also to crowdfund, and we're looking to do that with an existing provider. And the fourth one is a mortgage brokering service. So the National CLT Network will become a mortgage broker where we will provide the link between people trying to buy a CLT home and the mortgage lenders out there who are keen to lend to the sector. We're going to be fundraising for those in the next few months. We're already developing and have developed some of the funding proposals, and with the intention to have them set up within 12 months of securing the funding. So we're going to see kind of phased delivery over during the course of 2016-17, with the hope that everything would be established, fingers crossed, by December 2016. So an exciting time. But as we move into that new phase, we're going to need to grow the profile and influence of the CLT movement, and that's where we're really keen to work with you all the CLTs, to get your stories out there, get people knowing about CLTs as an opportunity for them. So that's going to be a key part of our business plan next year. But we also really want to grow the profile and influence of CLTs within Westminster and beyond. So that's why I'm really pleased actually that Cathy Baroness Bakewell is going to be joining us as our new chair. She actually is the current housing spokesperson of the Liberal Democrats and was leader of Somerset County Council. So has that profile and influence, and by working with her, we hope that she will be able to help steer us into an even more confident and prosperous future. So looking forward to the next 12 months and working with everybody. Thank you.
And there's certainly going to be a very interesting 12 months because we've got some challenges and opportunities. Sorry, let's change the word challenges to opportunities, because that's what they are. Well, that's the... Oh.
Okay, we've just been told that there has been a technical glitch potentially, so we're really sorry for the technical glitch for the slides, and do let us know how you experienced this way of doing it, and we definitely welcome feedback, and we'll try new ways to do it in the future, and obviously we're going to see some of you in person so we can always relay some of the information.
Absolutely. On that note, we'll just move on to any other business if there is any. Have we had any questions in, Leslie? No, we haven't had any questions in, so...
Unless we've got some questions from anyone in the room? No?
No.
Okay.
Well, on that note, it's David Graham, and it's...
I know, I'm feeling
Sorry. With the background we've got today...
I feel like we're on a news channel or something.
No. Thank you very much
Maybe
for
have to do a bit more practice
anyone that's been watching us or live or actually picks up the broadcast later. It's a new way of approaching the AGM, and we just thought we'd get to more members because it's a costly exercise coming into the capital London. So thank you very much for your time. If you've got any questions, if you want to know more about the network, you've got questions on the network, contact any of the team, myself, or any member. If you're not a member and listening to this. Thank you very much indeed for your time.
Thank you.